So hello guys, welcome to my channel. Oh, that's fine. So hello friends, welcome to my channel. We are going to solve the puzzles of Encyclopedia of Chess combinations. We are going to solve the puzzles today. So this is our first position, and this is white to move. So white plays the first move, rook to d3, targeting h3, rook h3, mate. Uh, it was sorry. This is the position, and it's white to move. It's black to move, and black gives the move king to h7. White moves bishop d5. Black takes the rook on f6. White takes the rook on f6. Bishop on f6. Rook g8. Rook to d3. Queen d7. Bishop d2 targeting rook h3. Queen h3 and g takes h3, and it's a win for white. So g5, rook h3, queen takes h3, g takes h3, rook f8, queen f5 check, rook g6, bishop takes f7, rook takes f7, queen takes f7, queen d7, queen f5, rook g6, bishop b4, rook h6, king h6, queen f8, king h7, queen f7 check, king h6, bishop takes d6, rook takes d6, queen f8, king h7, queen d6, and it is white who is winning the game. So moving to the next position, it's white to move, and white plays the first move, knight 2 to e4. So black plays d takes e4, knight e8, queen g8, knight f6, king h8. Here black can't play bishop takes f6 because there is the bishop is pinned. So king h8, knight takes g8, e2, king f2, e3, king takes e3, and if mistaken king takes e3, then e1 hits a queen, and black is winning the game. So king e1, king e, king d8, queen d8, king h7, queen e8, e4, queen a3, uh, e2, king takes e2, d1, king takes d1, king takes f3, g takes f3, king g8, king b3, king h8, queen f7, king h7, king e2, h5, king e3, king h8, f4, h5, king e4, and it is white who is winning the game. So moving on to the next position, it's black to move, and black plays the move bishop to e4. White plays rook to h3. Black plays rook c2. Rook takes c2, b3 check, king a1, b takes c2, f3, bishop f5, rook h1, bishop takes g4, f takes g4, queen b3, rook c1, rook c8, g5, king b7, g6, rook c7, queen e1, h3, e4, a5, queen g1, rook g7, e takes d, e takes d, queen f1, king a7, queen f2, queen d3, rook takes c2, queen takes g6, uh, queen f8, queen takes c2, queen takes g7, uh, white will take queen takes g7, and it is white who is winning because of the passed pawns here. Passed pawn on h3, he will play h2 and h1 queen, and no one can stop it because of the queen d1 check, and it's black who is winning the game. So moving on to the next position, it's right to move. I can see only the position of black is very bad here. So white plays the first move bishop to f6, targeting the g7. F takes g takes f6, rook f3, targeting rook h3 or rook to g3. Anything. Black plays queen e7, rook to g3 check, king h8, queen h6, targeting with g7 mate, and knight to g6, rook h3 queen, it's targeting queen h7 mate, knight to f8, rook f1, it's trying the queen, rook f3, rook g3, you can follow the arrows, and if black plays knight g6, it will, white will mate it on h7, and if it doesn't, then mate on g7. So moving on to the next position. Uh, It's I think it's right to move. Yes, it's right to move. So uh, so white plays the first move, queen to h3. Its idea is knight to f6 check, and if g takes h6, then queen takes h7 mate. Like this, knight f6, g takes f6, and queen to h7. It's a mate. So black plays move h6, queen to g3, knight to c6, trying to capture the knight on d4, or to exchange it, you can say knight to b3, white plays, rook a d8, king b1, rook queen c7, knight e c4 5, bishop c8, rook e1, rook h e1, knight d e7, rook d2, rook d5. They are doubling their rooks under d5, bishop to e4, rook takes d4, knight takes d4, rook d8, and you can tell its position is equal. We can check the engines, and it is, yes, it's showing equal position for both white and black. So moving on to the next position, uh, it's white to move, and white white thinks to play knight to f6 or to h6, f6 or to h6, anything he can play, because knight to f6, g takes f6, f takes g6, and there is a meeting chance on g7. So white plays knight to h6, king f8, knight takes f7, rook a7. If black played g takes h6, so you can see here it's queen g4 check, king f8, rook takes f7 check, king takes f7, rook f1, king it's e8, queen g3 check, king e7, and it's a mate on rook f7. So he didn't play the move on g takes h6. Instead, he played king to f8. So knight takes f8, rook a7, knight g5, it's a check, king e8, queen f2. It's a targeting. It's a mating attack. F7, f8, and a double attack or a fork on e6 with the knight. So black captures the pawn on e5, queen f8 check, king d7, rook d1, bishop g2, king takes g2, knight takes d3, b5. The idea of b5 is to stop the king from coming to c5, c6, and escape to the b7 route. So I place the move b5, queen c6. Black is thinking to escape his king from being checkmated by the move. If b takes c6, king takes c6, and obviously, to be takes c6, king takes c6, queen f3 check, king c5, knight e6 check, king b4, queen e4, king b5, queen takes d3, king b4, rook f4 check, king a5, rook a1, and it's a mate. So moving on to the next position, it's white to move. So white plays the move rook to b7. It's doubling the rook on the file b7. So rook b7, f takes g4, rook g7 check, king h7, g4, uh, rook d8, queen v3, queen g6, rook takes g6, f takes h6, g6, rook a7, knight g5, c4, king g8, c5, rook d5, and it's white who is winning because we can see white has queen and a rook, whereas black has double rook and a knight. Uh, and white has three and five, and black has only three pawns, so it's an advantage in pawns too. So moving on to the next position, it's a black to move, and black plays a brilliant move knight to e2. He's trying. Uh, He's trying king f1 only and queen b1. It's a checkmate. But it's easy. In this position, white plays the move bishop h5, rook b7, bishop g6, queen h8, a3, b4, a takes b, a takes b, c takes b, rook f8, rook b1, king king g8, king h1, rook e7, and it's white who is winning because white has a queen and a rook and a bishop, whereas black has double rook and a bishop and a knight. So moving on to the next position, it's black to move, and black plays the move bishop to g4, attacking the uh, d1 rook, as well as targeting to play bishop to f3 or knight to f bishop to f3 or knight to f3, and if g takes f3, then rook takes f3, and black can enter this area and mate white. So white moves f3, bishop e6, knight d5, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, rook f6, knight c3, rook b8, rook de1, rook b f8, e3, rook f5, and it's black who is winning because means black must win this game because he has a positional advantage here, because white's bishop is bad, as it can't play anywhere, not to here, not to here, and he can't play this bishop. So it's black who should win for obvious, because he has his knight at the center of the board, and white's knight is not as active as black's, and yes, he should win this game because he can't active his both the rooks too, because only move of the rook is rook to e4 and rook f to e1, then so nothing improve is happening in black's position, white's position, but black can win this game by uh, breaking black's king side like h5, h4, h3, and breaking this g2 square and attack this with the rook, with the double rook on f3, f3, and in this way, black will definitely win. I can say now. So moving on to the next position, it's black to move again, and black plays the bishop to f3 with the same idea of weakening the black white's king side, and white plays the move knight to e1 to protect his g2. White plays bishop to h5, f3, queen f5, knight c5, knight f4, g4, queen g5, knight g2, rook takes e3, knight takes e3, bishop g6, knight b7, bishop a3, rook e1, king g8, and it's black who is better in this position, obviously, because black can play this. Black's king is relatively safe than white's, and he can break this position by playing the h5 move and h5 or f5 and break this position, and he can't play, white can't take these pawns in both the cases because he is a pin. uh, so in this position, white is definitely better. Sorry, black is definitely better in this position. So moving on to the next position, it should be black to move. Yes, it's black to move. Knight to e6, rook to d1, knight to c7, queen to d3, queen to e4, queen takes e4, rook takes e4, bishop d4, bishop a3, bishop b6, rook c4, g4, knight a8, bishop d8, and it's black who is winning. He should win obviously because he has a piece up, whole piece up, a knight. So moving on to the next position, knight to f3 check, g takes f3. So here, knight to f3, you will also tell he can play 3. So playing f3, yes, it was a good idea, but here we can play bishop to g5. Bishop to g5, queen takes g5 and g3, and in this way, if queen to h5, then h4, and now the attack is not so good, and yes, h4 is can be a blunder because queen to e5 and then h4, queen to e5, f5 and then h4, h3 and then g2 mate. So instead of h4, you can give the move queen to h4, though it's doubling your pawn, but it will be a relatively good position. uh, yes, you will be a few pawns down. Rook to f4, king to g3, rook to c4, and c3 you should play. Uh, rook to e4, king to f3, rook e8, and rook to e8. No, sorry, it should be king to h4, rook to h4, king to g3, rook to h3 check, and it's kind of black who is winning because 3 4 5 3 4 5, no, the pawns are equal. But black's position is better than white because in open positions, black bishops play well better than white than knights. uh, so black is slightly better in this position. So moving on to the next position, uh, it's white to move, and white plays to move rook to d5. uh, The idea of this simple move, yes, it may occur to many that it's an extraordinary move, but the simple idea is this: c takes d4, and if you remove this, and if you remove this e8 rook, then you will see that it's a mate on e6 with the help of the knight and the rook. So, white gives then knight to d3, e takes d3. White is trying to mate with f4, and it's a mate. Did you see the tactics? Tell me in the comment below. So, moving on to the next position. Uh, Guys, wait a minute. So, yes, guys, I am back. So, we are going to this position. It's black to move, and queen takes f2. Knight takes f3, knight g3 check, king h2, knight takes f1, king h1, e4, queen e1, queen g3, queen takes c3, knight takes c3, queen h2, e takes f3, g takes f3, knight e2. Maybe it's black who is winning because of a whole piece. knight up. So it's so guys, I'm sorry, this is a wrong position because black has no queen. So guys, I'm sorry. So moving on to the next position. It's a white to move and white plays the brilliant move f5. E takes f5, queen takes h6, g takes h6, rook to a to g8, and it's a brilliant check and mate. So moving on to the next position, it's white to move. So white plays the move bishop to h6. The only idea of this move is bishop to h6, and if black takes the bishop, then or gives any other bad move, then white will easily play the move rook to e8, then king to b8, and then queen to b1, and it's a easy checkmate because you have already seen queen takes king to c8 or c8, then queen to b7, and it's a checkmate. So white gives queen f7. Uh, White gave the move queen to d4. Yes, it's a good move because white will meet with the rook, and if he doesn't, then the bishop would give a guard on the b6 square. So rook to d7, and we will now see if what happens if we move e takes d4. So if it takes d4, then rook f b1, knight to d7, then c to d7, rook takes d7, and rook b8, and it's a check and mate. So moving on to the next position, it's white to move, and white plays the move rook to c5, knight to e8, rook takes c4, rook takes c4, queen g5, rook c7, knight to d4, a5, knight f5, and it's a white way is winning the game.